Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue. You'll be surprised to hear that tonight our top story will be as regards The Rock and John Cena, otherwise known as wrestling. A lot came out of Elimination Chamber, but while we did have matches that simply weren't that interesting afterwards, for example, Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus, good win, good moment for Tiffany, not really going anywhere. You know what else we have? One of the biggest moments in the last 20 years. The arrival of heel John Cena for the first time since the doctorate in Thugonomics was rejected by the University of Hard Knocks. It's a very strange world that we live in. Thank you very much, Jess, for that gift and the heart that goes above my head. We are talking wrestling. We always talk wrestling, but every now and then, because of how much we talk wrestling, we get surprised. And this was a big shock. This was something that I was not ready for. This was plenty enough reason to go diving straight into the details, and I have a lot of them. So be sure to hit like any of the 50 people already on YouTube. Be sure to hit like anybody on TikTok as well. We already have 105 likes coming in. So let's talk about this. We will get to your questions. We will get to plenty of news. Otherwise, our headlines today are expansive, but the biggest piece of news, the biggest headline, has to come first. I'm going to go over it now and then we'll recap it halfway through the show as well. So we start with The Rock and John Cena. The Rock did not just appear one day and rewrite WrestleMania, despite the fact that there are several out there trying to report that as a fact. Instead, he's playing out the plan of an in-depth surrogate challenger to keep the fires of the final boss versus the final story alive, and he's successfully tricking wrestling media left, right and center in order to make it happen. Cody Rhodes will be wrestling against a surrogate Rock, and that surrogate Rock, not a world I ever imagined we'd see, will be John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, how did we get here? Let's tell. While the WWE were putting together John Cena's final tour, making plans for his final matches against a wealth of competitors, Cena announced his impending retirement live during a PLE. I'm told that The Rock, up until this point, was not aware of Cena's plan, and at this time, he was still weighing up the chance that he himself could appear in the initial planned main event of WrestleMania 41, that being The Rock himself versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship, a match that Cody Rhodes would be expected to win, and a match that The Rock eventually was not able to make happen due to a number of different commitments. Cena's announcement was said to be the beginning of a very exciting period backstage, with both The Rock and Triple H communicating often about what they could potentially do with the upcoming WrestleMania and what they should do when it comes to the main event. Essentially, The Rock learned a valuable lesson from last year's WrestleMania and was asking, what can I do to help? Instead of, as he did previously, stepping in and deciding he was then in charge. The Rock and John Cena themselves had a sit-down discussion facilitated by Triple H near the very end of 2024, and this is when the heel turn was first discussed just over 3 months ago. This is also when we saw some big changes happening for the WrestleMania card, because around this time was also the first Raw on Netflix, something that, as I reported at the time, The Rock was heavily involved in the writing for. Now, Triple H did shift things around to accommodate Cena and The Rock, but also in recognition that their plans for Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Tribal Chiefdom, they weren't really working as intended. This was also true of a planned Finn Balor versus Damian Priest match. That match has since pivoted to Priest versus McIntyre instead, with no clear option, no clear and obvious route for Finn Balor. Now, at the time of The Rock's Bad Blood appearance, he had ideas, but he did not have plans. Things were being discussed, but not finalised. Rumours of The Rock skipping WrestleMania apparently aren't true, with The Rock planning to be there but for insurance reasons, not taking too big a risk in ring. It was a while after that things came together. We're still waiting on confirmation as to whether he'll be there out by ringside in person, or whether he might make an appearance similar to how he was briefly involved in the main event last year as well. Cena was said to be very receptive to the heel turn when it was pitched to him. He was offered the match against Cody Rhodes anyway, regardless of whether or not he was going to be face or heel. But this certainly inspires a big fight feel and a half, since turning heel in a shocking moment that Triple H certainly celebrated, and so he should, that nobody saw coming. What we have now is a very intense feud, with The Rock essentially acting as puppet master over John Cena. Of all the people, historically one of the biggest rivals to The Rock has been John Cena. And he's the guy currently literally on The Rock's coattails. The Rock was, as I've mentioned, looking to do something similar to Austin versus McMahon. As such, we now have John Cena, the representative, the heel version of Steve Austin from WrestleMania 17. There is a lot going on here, and we haven't even had any real inclination as to what the heel John Cena looks like in 2025. I feel confident in saying it doesn't look anything like it did the last time he was heel. Now, this is a team endeavor, and The Rock is expected to be in Cena's corner, but there's still a lot up in the air. I personally think that's what we're going to see. Right, gonna go straight in and immediately get rid of you entirely. We have trolls, and what you've just said is fucking disgusting. So you can go to hell. Anyway, while he'll come back as a troll and basically feed the chat rate, that's the only reason he was left, let's talk about news. The WWE are still trying to convince John Cena to lengthen his retirement tour until next year's WrestleMania, where once again, the WWE are likely to revisit the idea of The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. This is still a match at WrestleMania that they want to do, but much like the many years where we were waiting for The Rock versus Roman Reigns, that moment has not come because of basically conflicts in the contract and the requirement of The Rock. This will be revisited. Now, some spoilers that you might be interested in. From a storyline perspective, there are indeed rumours of a third person being involved. There is a suggestion out there at the moment that the WWE were teasing that Seth Rollins could be part of a trio. This would also involve lining The Rock directly up against another historic rival, CM Punk, and suggests that we may one day see a combination of Roman Reigns, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes on one side of the ring against The Rock, John Cena and Seth Rollins on the other. Now, there is a lot at play before we can consider Seth Rollins to be on the side of The Rock, particularly given that historically, the match last year, Seth Rollins stood against The Rock, but he also stood on behalf of Cody Rhodes. And you see, Seth Rollins right now is being fed by hatred. He has been for a while. His hatred of Roman Reigns could put him in a position where he is suspicious of Cody Rhodes essentially tagging with Roman. And that brief tag team match that looks throwaway suddenly makes a lot more sense. In addition to that, CM Punk. Hatred of CM Punk, particularly given that we're looking like Roman versus Punk versus Rollins at WrestleMania, basically a hatred derby for Seth Rollins, suggests that this could well still happen. And I mean, come on, let's be fair, that is a sexy lineup. Curiously, I did ask why The Rock, as a member of the board, wasn't aware that John Cena was retiring until Cena's official announcement. I was told, quite simply, he was busy, he has a life. In wrestling terms, I was told to sit down and shut up. Rumours that The Rock has changed the card last minute, we saw plenty of them all over the wrestling sphere. Not true. He did not change the WrestleMania card. The WrestleMania card was changed several months ago by conversations with The Rock and Triple H. His promo during SmackDown was rambling and all over the place because it hadn't been planned or rehearsed. Cody Rhodes did not know what he was reacting to because The Rock had not given him notes and had said, let's go out there and just do what we can. But The Rock at least knew where he was going with it. I reported that The Rock wanted the main event at the Chamber, and this is what happened. Now, I saw other media members delete tweets or suddenly go quiet. Rumours of McIntyre winning? Never on the cards for a second. Instead, The Rock worked this swerve beautifully. I have to tip my hat to the man. He did serious damage to several prominent wrestling news outlets and made sure nobody knew that John Cena would turn heel. You have people, even in this chat, saying that they knew for a fact, and I've got to say to you and to all of you and to the troll being a dickhead in the chat, guessing is not knowing, even if you guess correctly. The Rock and John Cena didn't just have Cody Rhodes. They had us all. And honestly, it's a very pleasant surprise. And if you watch the watch party, you can see my reaction to it. Now, my original intention was to take this part and cut it up into a short, but to be blunt, the last 10 minutes have been one of the most in-depth reports I've ever been able to make. I will revisit this later in the show for people who come in late, but let me know what you think in the chat, and remember, this is what spoiler warning gives you. And I say that knowing, firstly, be sure to say hi and bye to the trolls in the chat. I know that knowing that there are people trying desperately to celebrate a downfall that is not happening right now. Spoiler warning gave you the news about The Rock. Spoiler warning gave you that it was going to be a main event. Spoiler warning gave you more than anyone else did. And honestly, I am damn proud of what I've been able to report there. Damn proud, in fact, and thrilled that I was able to bring you what hopefully is exactly what you were looking for. Let me know in the chat what you thought of John Cena's heel turn. I want to read your thoughts. And yes, be sure to say hi and bye to our little troll. Just before we continue and before I start getting into the chat, I will be getting to your TikTok. I realize I haven't read many comments, but I promise you I will be starting shortly. Fightful also reported that early reports on the Rock segment being early in the night rather than the main event were false, and that the Rock was going to main event all along. Let me know in the comments who you think it was who reported those false reports behind their paywall. Let me know who you think it was who incorrectly reported that the Rock segment would be earlier in the show, and then afterwards said, hey, someone reported that and it wasn't true. On a related but unrelated note, I uploaded a video on YouTube yesterday detailing a whole bunch of February's fake news. So if you haven't already, please check that out. You'll learn a lot about some of the worst habits of wrestling media. Right, on the YouTube side, we have 116 people. Keep that chat rate going. I very much appreciate it. I'd love to hear your opinions. We only have 41 likes though, so if you can, please double check. Hit that thumbs up. Plenty of people on TikTok already. 2,000 likes. Miguel says it would make sense Roman or Drew joining The Rock. Why? Alex says, do you think Cena will win the title now he's heel, or still don't think he will? I still don't think he will. However, as I've mentioned, I didn't see this one coming. I know he doesn't want to, but he is interested in doing whatever the WWE thinks is best for he literally used the phrase best for business. How did we not see this coming? How did we not see this is wild. Thank you, Everton. Appreciate you. Miguel says, it seems The Rock will never let Punk main event any pay-per-view. I mean, it's not unfair. It's not unfair. So let's catch up on everyone joining. Sai says, evening, Tom and all. Evening, Sai. Good to see you, mate. Chris says, very happy to see Cena as a heel after 22 or 23 years. Can understand him with The Rock, but don't understand that Travis Scott connection. I do feel the need to apologise to everyone about some of the comments I've made about Travis Scott. Earlier today, during this very stream, before it went live, I did state, as regards the unopened can, Travis Scott, more like travesty. And I just want to apologise for any harm that may have caused, because it was not funny. Robin Dave says, hey Tom, how you doing? Doing well, thank you, Robin Dave. Good to see you, mate. Cal says, in my opinion, I'm thinking we might have the Wyatt Six back this Friday. I really hope so. In your opinion, do you think Cena's heel turn is most shocking? It's hard to say most shocking. There's a lot of heel turns we've seen. The Hogan one still lives in infamy. It got me. It very much got me. Bailey says, how much time do you see Raw spending on Cena to open the show if he won't be there? There's going to be a huge focus on John Cena during the show tonight. Miguel says, do you think there's still more in Who Attacked the Jade storyline? Yes, we will have more on that shortly. Brad says, tonight's Raw looks stacked with now 3 championship matches. Oh, Brad, can you detail those? Can you drop in the chat what the actual matches that are planned are, please? Joe says, hello all. Hello, Joe. Joey says, hey, Tom, do you know what the plan is for Rey Fenix when he debuts? I do have something on that shortly. One says, it's showtime. Matt says, there you are. Rickon also asking, when can we expect Rey Fenix to debut? More on that shortly. Ed says, hey, everyone. And thank you, Ed, for being here and taking care of business. Jordan says, evening, Tom and chat. Welcome, Jordan. Thank you very kindly, Metal Mama. That's a name and a half. Let's call you Metal Mommy because it's a wrestling show after all. For joining the team and giving that gift. I appreciate you very much for it. Jess says, Cena's face when he hugged Cody and locked eyes with The Rock was so great. Everton says, I'd love to see Roman and Cody versus Rock and Cena. And Everton says, War Raiders versus American Made, Ivan Nile versus Lyra, Rhea versus EO. Thank you very kindly, Everton, for the clarification there. Joey says, do you have any news on matches you expect to be added to Mania? We gave a full preview when it comes to Mania a couple of weeks ago, about 2 weeks. Every match that's so far been announced is something that I mentioned in the preview, and we'll go into more detail a little bit later with a couple of them. Backward says, I don't know how I feel about Cena's heel turn. I get that. Certainly this is a big change and a big confusion when it comes to something that we were potentially expecting. But honestly, a change in dynamic, I've got to say, it's a win for Triple H again. Mark says, hey, I'm here. Hope you're well. Doing well, thank you, Mark. Good to see you, mate. Jeremy says, hey, Tom, I love seeing you expose the liars and fakes. I try my best to just make this the most well-informed chat in wrestling. Fortunately, a large part of that is pointing out that some people just aren't. Thank you, Irish. I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. Everton says, March 17th, Raw could be the biggest Raw in history in Belgium. And Spiderboss says, when Rock appeared at Bad Blood, Roman told Cody, you deal with him now. Essentially. Sean says, hello, Tom. How's your Monday? Going very well. Thank you, Sean. Welcome to the show. Joey says, was EO showing up at the end of the Chamber match to tease a triple threat match for Mania? No, just to basically ensure that you don't forget that she could well be facing Bianca at WrestleMania. She won't, but she could. Robin Dave says, you don't turn John Cena heel and not have him win 17. You say that. Dylan says, hey, Tom Roman, he said Cena would never turn heel and asked you if he would. Well, guess what? He did. He absolutely did. Leon says, hi, Tom. Hope you're doing well. Doing well, thank you, Liam. Good to see you. Joey said, do you know if Rock will be wrestling or is he just going to be in Cena's corner? We did discuss that a moment ago. Jess says, why was Travis Scott even there? Essentially merchandising. They just took the opportunity to get more attention on The Rock, which is a weird element to be in. But Travis Scott fans should hopefully tune in. And The Rock fans would tune into Travis Scott. It's just a cross-promotional option. Thank you, Ed, for another generous gift. I appreciate you, mate. Michael Dobson says Cena is the GOAT. And Dan Sharp, as regards AEW, says I see Hook might stay and Wardlow could be on his way. Ooh. Eric says, who do you think helped Cody? I've detailed some options there. Carl says, how many people backstage do you think knew? Very few. Very few knew about this. King Alice says, Tom, I think Cena cheats to win against Cody at WrestleMania 41. You can have Cody win it back at SummerSlam. Marcel says, do you expect Cena tonight? I think it would be a very bad move if WWE don't strike while the iron is super hot. Robin Dave says, I wonder if John Cena will use the music and gear he had originally. It was originally going to use back in 2012. Dylan says, who do you see main eventing night one? I see Jay versus Gunter. They are trying to work this out at the moment. Jay versus Gunter seems the obvious choice, but there is an argument being made for Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton. The argument is mostly being made by Charlotte Flair. One says, John Cena said in an interview that back in 2013, after Rock vs. Cena 2, Vince McMahon had second thoughts on him going heel, but that was never meant to be. We will be discussing that, Pink. Don't you worry, and thank you for the kind words. Chris says CM Punk and Roman will both be on Cody's side, most likely, which I have already covered. As Spider-Boss Trish did get a pop, I would agree it wasn't the biggest. Jess says, do you think Cena is going to keep wrestling in jorts, or perhaps Jans? I think the jorts will still be his signature look. Michael Dobson thinks we're heading to a new NWO. And Alice says Cena is in Africa, so would only be able to be there via satellite. I suspect he probably recorded something the day before. I want to say a thank you for Matta for becoming a channel member. I very much appreciate you for that. Just to clarify, a channel supporter, which is a level and a tier of membership that gives you access to absolutely everything that we have sort of backstage in the members only section. It's a $1 a month. It's just a little way to offer some extra support if you are interested in doing so. Thank you, Michael, for following on the TikTok side. Spider Boss says Charlotte's been wanting to main event WrestleMania for a while and she doesn't get the main event. Right, where was I? Roy says, I hated John Cena turning heel and I hated Jade Cargill ruining the Women's Chamber. I hated Bianca winning the Chamber. Roy, what did you like? John says, some fans think Cena won't retire now that he's heel. He will still retire. Not everybody lives forever. Dad says, big up Tom, will Cena be on Raw or SmackDown? Cena will be on whatever show he decides to be on. Or The Rock decides, I should say. Cal says, I never imagined a Cena heel turn. Nor I. And Cal says, R-Truth is absolutely heartbroken, which is 100% correct. Cal says, Tom Colohue a go. I appreciate you for that. And I see a few people saying hi and bye to the troll as that was going on. Bailey says these last 10 minutes should be packaged as a special presentation. Well done. I do think I'll pull it out. I won't pull it out on video. Sorry, that's not the phrase I was going for. That's not the phrase I was going for. What I do think is I'll edit that separately and potentially make it into a video that I can put onto YouTube independently. Jordan says, love the fact only those involved knew about Cena's heel turn. It made the moment even better. Azrael is devastated by the Cena heel turn. Everton, yes, I said what I said. One says, I still think Cena should have went heel in 2013. Tom Colohue is the only reliable source since 2023. Thank you kindly. Mark says, I love it, and this is why I don't with the final boss. Mick says, you really can be proud, man. Great work as always. Thank you, Mick. I worked very hard to get that information, and I'm thrilled that some of it already has been re-reported elsewhere. Chris says, John Cena's heel turn is one of the most monumental moments in recent WWE history. And Cal says, anyone who watched the watch-along would know Tom was shocked more at Travis Scott drinking out of a closed can. It was not acceptable. Not acceptable. It's weird. Marcel says, the other one I believe in, the rest I don't. You're great. Thank you very kindly. As regards that report, Daz thinks it was Dave Meltzer. David Malston said it was Sap. Juan says, Dave Meltzer. Yes, Fightful reported, just to level that one out, Fightful reported that early reports were incorrect that The Rock was going to be on in the middle of the night. And it was indeed Fightful who reported that he'd be on in the middle of the night. So we've had 50 likes so far on YouTube, 119 people watching. Can we get those likes up as we go? I'm still catching up with the chat, and then we'll have plenty of news still to come. I also want to say, if you're talking between each other and just talking amongst yourselves, that's cool. That boosts my chat rate, that guarantees more people, that guarantees more views. Literally, just talking amongst yourselves, both on TikTok and YouTube, massively helps support the growth of these channels. Thank you, Aled, for joining the team and for giving a gift in doing so. I very much appreciate you for it. Michael says, I can see that new NWO being Cena, Rock, and then maybe the third man will be Seth Rollins. I did just discuss that possibility. Ed says, no pulling out, Tom, unless it's behind the paywall. I don't have a paywall. I'd have to do it in public. Spiderbot says, who do you see facing Liv and Raquel for the women's tag team titles at Mania? I have already discussed what I would expect to see at Mania. Everton says, Ray Phoenix has left AEW. When do you expect to see him in WWE? I do have more on that very shortly. Kevin says, this is the second time. Oops, sorry, I've just lost track of myself. I'll just catch back up to where I was. It's a very busy chat today. I appreciate you guys. Kevin says, this is the second time Randy Orton's return was overshadowed by CM Punk's return and now Cena's heel turn. Randy Orton still gets his big moment, but yeah, a lot going on. Dylan said, I never thought I'd live to see a heel Cena, and now I can't wait to see what he does. Entertainment says, one of my favourite moments in wrestling ever. John turning heel is what I dreamed of. King Azza says, Cena's heel turn for me is on the same level of Roman's heel turn from 2020, and what a moment that was. Sid, thank you, saying that the YouTube stream is going perfect. Kelly is here. Welcome, Kelly. I love how you've let out your name there. Says, hello, beautiful people, and good evening, Tom. Good evening to you, Kelly. Beautiful people indeed. Andrew says, I enjoyed the Chamber. Also, Cena turning heel after 21 years was absolutely the greatest plan ever. Also, I loved how Cena was playing devil's advocate and went along with Cody, laughing and joking. The fact that he stayed out there made me suspicious immediately. Brad says, glad to hear The Rock didn't change the plans for Mania at the last moment. That heel turn was beautifully executed. Cecil says, I don't really know how I feel, but this is wrestling at its best and I'm here for it all. I loved yesterday's video, Wrestling Monthly Receipt. Thank you very much, Cecil. For those that did watch it, are you able to tell me what you enjoyed about it? Maybe give me some information as to what you'd want to see in future, and also potentially convince any of the 128 people here to check it out. I'd really appreciate it if I could get some further opinions. Yes, Juan, it is indeed still the last of my orange Fanta. Cal says, Bray Wyatt told us in 2014 and 2020, should have listened, Bray was never wrong. And DKA says, word life. Kevin says, you need somebody young to benefit a lot to join The Rock and Cena. Honestly, I'd go the other way. I'd have people against Rock and Cena who are a little younger. For example, Bron Breakker. Pete says, literally nobody smelled what The Rock was cooking. Kelly does not care for Travis Scott, which I get. I absolutely get. Fair enough, Everton. I get what you're saying. Everton says, give me Orton versus Cena versus Punk. I'd love that match very much. Michael says, it was amazing. I just wish I was a kid and not a 26-year-old man. I get what you're saying. Thank you, Jess. I appreciate you saying that. Everton says, hustle, loyalty, and disrespect. Disrespect. Xavier says, hopefully you're having a great day, Tom. Great day, great show so far. Miguel says, this time we could see him. Cody couldn't. Jeremy says, keep exposing the fakes, Tom. Appreciate you. Sid says, I never thought Cena would turn heel. I thought The Miz would have joined The Rock for what The Miz said to Cody on SmackDown. Bam says, can we expect Wyatt this Friday or maybe next SmackDown? At this point, I don't have the rundown. Sean says, do you think Rhea versus Io main events tonight's Raw? I really hope so. It would make the most sense to me. I would imagine we're going to open with Cody Rhodes. Michael says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Michael. Yes. Matter. Yes, Kelly, Metal Mama is indeed on the TikTok side. I can see people, Metal Mama, who recognize you on the YouTube side as well, just giving you a heads up there. Joey says, PW Nexus reported Bo Dallas is cleared to wrestle. Have you heard the same? I've never at any point heard that Bo Dallas was injured in the first place. I've been very consistent on that. I can't confirm a report that someone isn't injured if I can never confirm that he was injured in the first place. Rickan says, does Malachi show up on Raw or SmackDown? Is he Malachi or Alistair? Alistair Black is the most likely name that we're going to see. I cannot say one way or the other because the WWE have not yet decided to my knowledge. David says, I'd want Cena to win the belt, hold it till his last match and lose it to a young star like Oba or Braun, but I don't think that's particularly likely. Christopher Leclerc says, Rhea Ripley has never beaten Io Sky in her career. First time for everything. One says, good old SRS, the enemy, dropped yet another report. AEW is reportedly considering uniting both international and continental championships. Thoughts? They have too many. So I'd like that. John says, do you think Cena will keep his jorts attire or a complete new look? I think he'll keep the jorts personally, but I think he also might start to wear The Rock's shirts. Joey says, do you know if the powerbombs on Sammy was a way to write him off for Mania, or will he have a match? The WWE waiting just to confirm that his contract has been signed and renewed before they confirm any plans for WrestleMania. Jess says, and I like this phrasing, he's not doing Make-A-Wish, he's doing Break-A-Wish. Gilly says, hopefully heel Cena beats Cody at WrestleMania. And Spider-Boss says, Cody's fan meltdown when Cody loses at WrestleMania will be fun. Michael Dobson says, which shocked you more, Taker versus Brock or this? This. I wasn't watching at the time when Undertaker lost to Brock. Spider-Boss says, a wild world in which Roman is babyface and Cena is heel. And Everton suggests WWE Intercontinental United States Championship. Different side, mate. AEW we're talking about. Michael says, from the Wrestling Observer, Barry TKO executive, both WWE and NBC Universal are keen on renewing PLE contract for Peacock. They would say that, naturally. Sean says, why do you think Vince would never turn Cena heel? Money. I did matter, but I appreciate you checking in to see if I would anyway. We have 131 people watching on YouTube, 58 likes, 2 more get us to 6, so let's keep that going. I will pump that like button as much as I can and pump you for it as much as I can as well. On the TikTok side, new record of 5 people on the team. Appreciate you. 4,300 likes already. If you can, keep that going. Please keep that going. Thank you kindly. Joey says, Cassidy Haynes reported Asuka is expected to miss Mania due to injury. I believe I did mention that a couple of weeks ago. Randall says, I hope Cody's okay from that nasty trip in the ring. The floating belt spot was brutal. I like it. Bam says, poor Randy Orton. His return was overshadowed by one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. Kevin says, big question is what gonna... Sorry, Kevin, can you rephrase that? I'm not sure what you're saying. Cal says, I just know Cena is going to beat R-Truth up. I mean, that gets heel heat. David says, is there anything behind Travis training to wrestle? The Rock seemed to allude to it in his press conference at the Chamber. Yes, there is. Bailey says, let's give credit to the unsung heroes of the heel turn. The camera work on Cena and Cody was superb. They knew exactly what they needed to do. Calvin says, hey, Tom, do you see Cena going back to his Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick only briefly? No. John says, I think Rock said at the press conference, John is gone, filming a movie, I believe. So I says, I wonder if even the commentary team knew of Cena's turn. All we got from Michael Cole, was stunned silence and little more from the others. I cannot speak about Michael Cole. Pat McAfee was kept in the dark. Michael says, I watched both, but I was still more shocked at this. I was at work and a mate messaged me. Spider-Boss says, Cena telling kids it doesn't matter what you say would be fun. Joey says, do you think Aleister Black will show up before Mania, or is Triple H saving for the Raw after Mania? I've discussed that at length in different shows. Kevin says, no, Bianca versus Rhea Ripley, by far better main event for night one. I haven't heard anything about it because neither of them seem to be particularly keen on pushing for it. But the WWE will make their decision and Triple H will get the final say. Jan says, do you think that The Rock could add a woman to the stable? I don't think it's that big a stable yet, to be fair. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that clarification. $1.49 in Australian for the channel supporter setup. David says, if Cena appears via satellite, does it count towards his dates? Not if he's pre-recorded. Eric says, Tom, can you please explain? Bear with me, I'm just going to catch back up and work out where I was. There's a lot happening right now. Tom, can you please explain why Canada was booing the US national anthem? Yes, it's one of my news pieces very shortly. Joey said, do you know what the plans are for the IC and US title at Mania? Doesn't seem like there's clear matches yet. I can't confirm. Rumours of singles matches seem wide of the mark so far. Just a lot playing right now, but it seems like LA Knight versus Shinsuke again seems more likely to get at this point. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. Very shocked that Cena turned on Cody, and I'm here for it. Chris says, 2K25 releases for early access this Friday. Calvin says, WrestleTalk posted a list of superstars joining Rock's alliance. A-Town Down Under was on the list, but I see Theory turning it down. So WrestleTalk were wrong. Cal quoting me and saying, I'll pull it out. Alyssa says, don't see John Cena win title, BC Randy Orton back. Eric says, why was Travis Scott even there? Popularity. Dylan says, I want to use a movie reference here. This is like Revenge of the Sith. Palpatine turns the greatest hero into a villain, strikes back against Luke, causing him to return Vader to the light side with a little help from his friends. I Am Nobody just says, win. Marcel suggests we can go for a like record. Our recent shows have been hitting 100 likes, usually after the fact, but we've hit 61 so far. We've got plenty of people. We've got more than enough here to hit that 100. Can you do it? Let's see. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate you saying that. I'm Nobody says, do you think Cena was a plant by The Rock in the Royal Rumble to help Jay win? Not sure, but it's not something I've considered. That would be interesting if Jay Uso actually joins at Mania. Gal says, did you see the way Cena was punching Cody on the ground? Was the exact same way he was hitting the pig in the Firefly Funhouse match. Also, that's how he punches down. Jan says, do you think that The Rock could add a woman to the stable? Already discussed that one. Cal says, people talking about Randy and Cena, but Jade deserves her flowers. That was a superstar moment for her. Glad she thrived. So excited for what she's doing on Friday. Alex says, do you think Cena will be heel all year? Not sure. Not sure. Spider-Man says, Bianca looked shocked when Jade appeared. Michael says, would you say Travis will be for Cena what Rodman was for Hollywood Hogan? No. If anything, for The Rock. Where was I there? Sid says, are you looking forward to Orton versus Owens? Yeah, I think it'll be a good match. I can't say I'm thrilled by the prospect. As sad as it sounds, I haven't been that excited for a Kevin Owens match in a while. I think I might have seen everything he can really offer. Richard says, hi Tom, great chamber. I hope you enjoyed. I did. Welcome to the show, mate. Kelly says, I'm so happy to see Tom's numbers go up. Let's share his live streams, like the streams, and make this channel a success. Thank you very much, Kelly. But what I will say, I really do feel like this channel is a success. I know you're a regular over at Wrestling Days. He has a much larger audience and a much larger channel base than myself. And he's certainly at least much closer to full time. I'm very happy with the corner of the internet that I've made my own, both on YouTube and on TikTok. I'm thrilled with what we've been able to achieve here. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. Aled, yes, there will be Ray Phoenix news. Stick around. Andrew Quinn said, it's mad that The Rock's put 3 fingers up at Bad Blood, then he put 2 fingers up at the Chamber. One more will be Mania 41, Cena Rock, and one more member. John said, we'll listen to that fake report video tomorrow. Carl says, the watch along was great. It was just like watching wrestling with your mates. Chilled, and respect to Tom once again speaking to us waffle merchants for 3 hours. There was, for anyone who missed it, a whole match where we didn't talk about the match at all. At all. Can you guess which one it was? I've read that one. Billy Crystal says, hello, Tom. Hello, Billy. Calvin says, hey, Tom, do you see Seth joining Rock after how Cena won the match? I will recap what I said at the beginning. I spent 10 minutes at the beginning of the show talking about what's going on with The Rock. Any questions about that, I will recap as we get later on. Jack Burton says, Bron Breakker teaming up with Cody would be epic. Cecil says, I appreciate that you not only reported their mistakes, but you gave back reports on them denying their own claims. Amazing. Yeah, I've got to point that out because I think there was 5 times we pointed out the Wrestling Observer reporting something, then rumour killing themselves, and people paid for it. Declan says, I'm still waiting for Becky Lynch. Me too, mate, me too. And also says, hello, Tom. Hello, mate. Steve says, will this turn make Cena's AA once again the FU? I king hope so. That would be brilliant. I feel we've waited long enough for that. Michael Dobson says, do you think they gave Cena a new finish? No. People already boo his finisher. Jess is kind of interested in they didn't show Drake, who is sitting front row. And Spiderball says, do you think Roman will return before the European tour? Yes. Right, where was I? Kevin says, no more Wrestler Fun Facts Thursday. That was interesting to watch. I enjoyed making them. I was able to get quite a bit of comedy, I felt, but they were not well received at all. Not at all. Sean says, do you think Cena's heel run will last his whole retirement tour? Personally, yes, I do. And Kevin says, what's going to happen to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 41? The most likely scenario right now is a match with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Calvin says, Pat seemed all for Cody getting beaten down, but Michael was pissed. Abby said, just having the dynamic flipped. If his rivalries with formerly heel opponents, particularly Orton and even Punk to some extent, are revisited, would be worth tuning in throughout this run. Well, the point is, they want you to be tuning in, I'll tell you that. Bailey says, this is the most unexpected turn since a certain horsewoman chopped off a ponytail and destroyed a bunch of inflatable buddies on the SmackDown debut of Fox. Han says, Logan Paul waved the American flag and got booed. I still think he should have worn the MAGA shirt too for added heat. It wouldn't get heat. Oh no, sorry. In Canada, yes, it would get heat. That's a fair shout. In America, absolutely wouldn't. Welcome, Kaz. Good to see you. Calvin says, the singer that sung both national anthems has a crazy voice. Amazing. And Sean says, if Becky isn't back in the next 47 days, she'll miss her second WrestleMania. Daz, we do have news on Rey Fenix. We'll be sharing that as soon as we're able to get back to the news, as soon as we've caught up with the chat. Sid says, I enjoyed Randy Orton's return and kicking Kevin Owens' arse. Everton, you've said that a few times now. There's a reason I'm not reading it out, mate. I try and keep things light-hearted here. I appreciate what you're saying. It's very generous towards me, but I'm trying to keep these shows light-hearted as well. There is a fine balance to manage. I know what goes on in the lives of quite a few people here. I'm choosing not to read that for a reason. I want you to trust me and stop repeating yourself. Okay? So. Bam says, what gimmick do you see they will give to heel Cena? I'd imagine it'll be John Cena, but bad. Steve says, does Cena shave his head now? No, people would cheer it. People would cheer that. Ooh, we're getting there. Chris says, Tom, do you know if CM Punk and John Cena are planned to have another match together? Their chemistry looked good from what we saw at the Chamber. Yes, that is one of the names on the list that they're trying to make happen. Calvin says, I feel so bad for Kylie Jenner watching a man take part in that beatdown. Entertainment says, I have a feeling Becky Lynch will have a unique role for WrestleMania in the form of a heel. Just a feeling. I'm nobody also found because of Days. Plenty of people here because of Wrestling Days, and I appreciate the effort that he has made to make that happen. Joseph's Fake Report show was amazing, Tom. Thank you. I appreciate that. Eric says, I thought Liv pinned Bianca's braid. Did Bianca kick out and didn't see? No, nobody pins a braid, man. Nobody can pin hair. John says, what do you think was the best match on the card for Chamber? I saw reviewers saying then the best match was Sami versus Kevin Owens. The women's Elimination Chamber for me was by far the best match. I didn't really enjoy the Owens Sami Zayn one. News says, I just saw the Asuka news. She's out until post-Mania 41. Going to be patient, but my advice to Asuka fans, don't panic and stay positive and patient for her return. Hello again, Declan. Andrew says, can you imagine this at Mania? Cody has Steve Austin in his corner, Cena has The Rock, and the ref is somehow unconscious, and Stone Cold stands side by side with Cody, and Steve stuns Cody. I can imagine it because it's make-believe. Andrew says, Cena, Rock and Austin will be a great faction. Be old as shit. Bam said, is this heel turn the way of Cena passing the torch to Cody Rhodes? No, because Roman Reigns already passed the torch to Cody Rhodes. Crush Thank You says, Kylie Jenner and Travis Scott haven't been together for years now. She's definitely not. Nope, she's not with... Nope. Andrew says, did you ever have Cena and Robert Downey Jr. turning heel in 25? Robert going from Iron Man to Doctor Doom. I believe that was 2024, to be fair. Carl says, I think the Women's Elimination Chamber was the best. Spider-Boss says, Sammy and KO went a little bit long. Yes, Kaz, actually, you've asked about Jacob versus Solo for WrestleMania 41. I reported that. Quite a few people have been here regularly, and I imagine you've been given some inclination as to what I do here based on what you're saying. But yeah, I reported that there are now talks for Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania after Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns for the Tribal Chiefdom was moved to the Raw, the first Raw on Netflix. Kel says, I hope Asuka is safe and getting some support. She's currently been dealing with a lot of issues. Andrew just says, that hair whip. James says, thank you, sir. Great job. Cena, which I always like to see. Calvin says, seeing Cody almost in tears and he was being helped to the back was heartbreaking. Lawrence says, did not think Cena would turn. I'm glad they did. Declan has suggested Lyra versus Becky for the Intercontinental Championship for WrestleMania. I'd mentioned that myself. Crush, if you want to see a Tom Colohue heel turn, check out the Wrestling Receipt, which I uploaded to YouTube yesterday. Calvin says, I forgot to mention the rest of the family is about to be done with Travis too. And Cal says, Tom tells us stuff that's right. It's fun. I try my best, mate. I try my best. Spider-Boss says, when did Roman pass the torch? Roman is still the guy. Roman is not there. Roman's not there. Cody Rhodes is the guy. Jess says, Bianca's reaction to the Naomi beatdown was so good. Lauren says, face Orton and heel Cena was not on my card, but I love it. Mike Game said, Punk, cash in the favour and make it Cody versus Cena versus Punk. Primarily... Pardon me, because the favour was arranged with Paul Heyman, who is not John Cena and he's not The Rock. Lauren thinks Cena will win at Mania. Sid says, will we get a babyface turn for Jacob Fatu in the near future? No. What's going to happen is he's going to keep being a heel until he eventually becomes a heel. Yes, we will see Becky Lynch soon, Chris. She has signed a new deal with the WWE. They're just waiting for things to line up. Cal says, Tom, I'm getting a feeling Tongaloa might not come back. I don't know why. We can get to our next piece of news, and that is something from PWInsider. PWInsider have been credited for reporting that there'll be a WWE draft after WrestleMania 41. Stop me if this sounds familiar. This was first reported here during spoiler warning. So thank you to PWInsider for confirming something that I mentioned 2 months ago. So yeah, cheers guys. Spider-Boss says, Cody being full-time only has 8 title defenses, which is more than Roman Reigns. Ishii says, do you think we're getting Alexa versus Liv? Nope. Dryby says, hi Tom, where do you see Roman in this Rock, Cena and Cody drama? Elsewhere. Steve says, in the UK where the fans FU Logan bit censored like holy. I wonder what words get censored internationally, especially when Cody was allowed to say the full F word loud and clear. That popped me more than anything. The Cena heel turn was icing on the cake. It was Cody saying that. I've never been the biggest Cody fan. Was there for that. Lauren says, will Orton versus Owens be no DQ at Mania? Possibly, not sure at this point. Cecil says, I believe Liv Morgan has raised her game to the top tier of the women's division. I admit I'm a big fan, but I'd say that if I didn't like her. Tom's thoughts? I have news about Liv Morgan shortly. Chris says, Jacob Fatu should be a guy who just kicks ass and it doesn't matter if he's a heel or a face. Correct. Carl says, Mr. Tom Colohue, you said this months ago, it's scandalous. They don't quote you. They have to pretend that they don't know. Ishii, you know what's next for Alexa. I've been reporting the same thing for weeks while you've been there. Declan says, in Australia, we're going to have a WWE weekend with SmackDown, PLE and Raw this year. It was reported by TKO. One said, as usual, no credit given to Tom. Still no credit given to you for the Mercedes money to AEW 1 year later. Cal says, I just want my Wyatts back. Can't wait to see Howdy. Code Adrenaline, good to see you, mate. Says Roman Reigns starting his road to Mania at the end of March is just meh. Rather see a singles match between Reigns versus Rollins or Punk versus Reigns, not a triple threat. Declan can see Becky winning the Money in the Bank. And Kelly says, when Cody said that me and my daughter looked at each other Like, did Cody just say that? Chris says, am I wrong for beginning to suspect Sami will turn heel and align with Kevin Owens at Mania after the match we saw at Elimination Chamber? Probably. Sean says, lots of fans are upset that most of the women in 2K25 are copy and pasted. They're not. Cal says, I can't wait for the WrestleMania watch-alongs. Rickon says, any clue if WWE's interested in Zilla or has that ship sailed? There's interest but limited. And no, Sid, I'm not going to Raw or SmackDown at the O2. I'm a parent and I have to focus on that. Cal says, as long as The Rock doesn't stroke Cena's face, I'm okay. Dylan, as regards Becky's return, she signed a new deal. They're just waiting for the storyline to be lined up. Kevin said, do you think Liv Morgan, she had better multiple-person matches compared to singles matches? No, I think much like Baron Corbin, you put her in a no-DQ environment and she absolutely thrives. Speaking of the Women's Elimination Chamber match. Naomi versus Jade Cargill is expected to take place at this year's WrestleMania. The original intention as long ago as this time last year was to have Cargill taking on a newly healed Bianca Belair, but as the women's division has struggled with the lack of big names like Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Belair has risen back into prominence and she has replaced the person who would have been facing Rhea Ripley initially. There was talk of Becky Lynch being that rematch. For Naomi's part, the WWE are confident that a heel Naomi will be able to bring the best out of Jade Cargill and in future Bianca Belair when that feud kicks off as well. This I do not doubt for a second, but it'll be interesting to see how this match plays out. WWE is said to be satisfied of how well the crowd in place reacted to Cargill's return, believing that they've done right by writing her off briefly and then bringing her back a house of fire. It was smart, it was smooth, and it was intelligent. I have something purely for Ishii, which I'm calling Ishii's Boboner. Ishii brought a piece of news into the chat before the show went live, which for anyone who doesn't know, you can come into the YouTube page before the show actually goes live and chat. Boost the chat rate, guarantees more viewers when the show actually goes live. I appreciate it. Ishii believes PW Nexus when they reported on X, but he can't give me anything they've been right or wrong about. I've been giving you guys plenty of examples of things that are proven right and things that are proven wrong. So I'm asking you guys, what are your impressions of the record of PW Nexus when it comes to wrestling news so far? I'm going to keep catching up with the chat. I'm going to give you guys some time. But your impressions of PW Nexus and their reliability as a platform for wrestling news. Also 74 likes. Give me one more. One more. We've got 7,500 on TikTok. It'd be a lovely 100th. I just really enjoy that. Kelly says 136 watching, now to 144. 74 likes, one more for 75, 6 for 80. Let's go and click. Chris says Sami Zayn could have realised that KO is right. Helping KO beat Randy at Mania might just be all he has to do. I personally don't see it. Kel says it would be cool to see the Rock use Fatu and Tama Tonga as enforcers. Jacob Fatu is beyond that. Kel says the fact that Liv Morgan is that good and they booked her reign was that bad is shocking. More on that shortly. Jess is excited for heel Naomi. Cal says another thing that's gone under the radar. Alexa looked phenomenal Saturday. She's been gone 2 years and is performing with zero rust. Sean says since WWE can turn John Cena heel, they can turn Bianca heel. Yeah, they just chose not to. Calvin says, pitch, A-Town Down Under host WrestleMania. Rock tries to recruit them to help Cena win. They prepare to double team Cody, but Theory, intentionally, knocks out Grayson, hits ATD on Cena and Rock. Calvin, they're not that important. Basically. This is not that important. Sean says, will Rhea versus Bianca be face versus face? Seems so far. Sean, I did look into the reports of Julia being injured. I got what I can best describe as nothing. Nothing. As regards PW Nexus, Dylan says, who? Calvin says, is there a way that Bianca will turn heel going to match at WrestleMania? There's always a way. Miguel says, PW Nexus seems like zero news. Jess says, Jay beating up Naomi while wearing gear for no reason was so funny for me. I love wrestling. Chris says, I'm unfamiliar with PW Nexus. I'm a Tom Colohue guy. Cal says, I've only seen the PWN report today about Howdy. I've never seen their reports before. Brad says, not reliable at all. One says, never heard of PW Nexus. Cal says, I'm a Tom Colohue simp. Matt just says, I love the Nexus, but John Cena ruined it. Ishii says, I don't know nothing about PW Nexus, despite the fact that he was using them as a source earlier. One says, I've heard as a faction the Nexus, very intriguing storyline with John Cena and to an extent CM Punk. Nick Brennan says, to be honest, I haven't really found a more credible and humble reporter than you, Tom. I appreciate you for that. Might be a hot take, but I do actually trust SRS, but the majority of the dirt sheets I take with a pinch of salt. You are entitled to your opinion, and I don't question you for that. Your experience is what's most important when it comes to this. It's just a case of I encourage people to remember. Sean says, PWInsider must have been wrong then. Just because I haven't personally heard it doesn't mean that they're wrong. We'll see. Bam says, do you see Cena winning at WrestleMania? Personally, no. Gavin says, Alexa looked like she felt bad for Naomi. Maybe, maybe not. And Ishii says, only Cena on X. X is almost always incorrect. Like, there is considerable evidence and studies to report that X is almost always incorrect. If you see it on X, you should untrust it. Jess says, unpopular opinion maybe, but the Nexus' theme song was bad. Therefore, PW Nexus sucks. Spider-Boss says, does TK have plans for Camille? He's not working with Camille at this point in time. What I will say, and I've said this a few times, for PW Nexus, they at least have names behind people, so they have to accept the defeat if they do get something wrong, which I give them credit for. There are plenty out there who absolutely refuse to, one, accept when they are wrong, not if, when, and two, do not put their name, do not put their face, and do not put their reputation behind anything that they do. Chris says, do you have any news on Carmella and there potentially being any bad blood? Seem to want to say a lot on a podcast. To my knowledge, there is no bad blood at this point in time. Billy said, never heard of them. Before I found your channel, I go on Cage Side Seats. To be fair, I was on Cage Side Seats quite a few times myself. KJ says, what's up, Tom and chat? Going very well, KJ. Good to see you, mate. And no crush, nothing at this point as regards Ryan Nemeth and the lawsuit. Is very hush-hush for reasons which I'm sure you can understand. As regards the booing of the national anthem, WWE is said to be absolutely fine with Canada booing the US national anthem, primarily because they usually do. It was said to be Triple H's decision this time not to hide the true audio and just accept it. That said, Pat McAfee did go a little off script and show his Republican credentials in his reaction, in his reaction to it. I did mention a couple of days ago, in fact, Pat McAfee is a Trump guy. He really is. And it showed. Calvin said Jade could have broken Naomi's ribs when she slammed the door on her and broke her back. That door has got to be super heavy. That looked devastating. So, good spot. KJ says, it would be cool to see Austin show up at Mania to back Cody. I don't know if he'd do much double knee surgery, maybe it happens. Hey, or maybe The Undertaker again. Yay. Jess says, why do they have the US anthem in Canada anyway? What's the point? So that you know who the heels are. America's the heels. They wanted you to cheer Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn after all. Well, somewhat Kevin Owens. Jordan says, to be honest, I don't take any notice of any of the reports apart from spoiler warning. Then again, I'm not on social media anymore, so I don't see it. And can I just say, I highly recommend that. I still go on Blue Sky every now and then, but I've abandoned Twitter entirely. I've never been happier. After a while, you stop missing it completely. You just stop missing it. The opinions of idiots. That's all it is. Rickon says, safe to say Miro is being saved for Raw SmackDown after Mania. Not safe to say, but likely. Cal says, we can support booing the anthem at the current time. You can support booing an anthem whenever the hell you want. Whenever the hell you want. Sid says, who is the greatest theme music of all time? Probably Austin, to be honest. Sean says, I wonder if Joe Hendry still wants a Cena match now that he's heel. In fact, I'd suggest he wants it more. Andrew says, who remembers WrestleZone? Use it all the time years ago. Yeah, I've had plenty of people at WrestleZone tell me how important they are. Billy says, HBK still got more boos than the US national anthem. Who's your daddy? Chris says, I'm not surprised by Pat being a MAGA guy in the slightest. Austin did just have double knee replacement surgery, so yeah, he's definitely not appearing. He did say last year he'd be there for Cody in Vegas. Maybe Roman will make the save. And Matt says, I find it odd that they play the anthem before any event, let alone another country. The intention is to say, hey, we're here, and so are you. Some people don't like America. The vast majority of the world doesn't like America. Jordan says, you really don't miss it once you leave it. And Tom, do you still have a Discord? Yes, in fact, I do. Let me grab a link so that I can drop it in here for anyone who does want to join. We do have a Discord. It's not the most active in the world, but I'm quite proud of what we do there. We do share quite a bit of information that you might want to check out. And of course, we also use the... Okay, what's going on there? It says I've copied the wrong thing. And we also use it as a platform, naturally, to try and find like-minded fans. Okay, apparently I've just copied hidden use copy button. Well, that's just, it's not copied. Is there another, paste as plain text. Hidden use copy button. Okay, so there is a Discord. I'd love it if someone can grab it. Generate a new link. Does this work? Still says copy. Still says hidden. Says copied. Trying one more time because I'm getting distracted at this point. Not working. Don't know how to make that work, guys. I'll drop a link on Blue Sky or something. Make sure you join there. Anyway. Dylan says, I've lost a bit of respect for Pat knowing he's a Trump supporter, especially since Trump is not in his right mind. Tim Davis says, I hope we get the epic version of Kingdom at WrestleMania. I'd be there for that. That could be absolutely fun. Calvin says, I can see a segment where Joe Hendry gets destroyed by Cena and Rock. Cal says, greatest theme, Edge hands down. Some good options out there. Chris says, Bobby Roode is no longer in 2K, so I'd like to ask if his talent contract did expire. He hasn't been on a talent contract in a long time. Ross says, late tonight, Tom, heading back to start. Good video on the lives. Thank you, Ross. Appreciate you. And yeah, we're running a bit late, but there's still more news and a recap to go. So let's get to the Liv Morgan report. Thank you, Si. I appreciate you for dropping that Discord link in the chat. I don't know what went wrong, but thankfully you're there to fix it. Liv Morgan's position in the WWE was already pretty strong. But her performance in the Elimination Chamber, both in terms of being willing to take a serious beating and in the way that she proved to be the fulcrum of the match, seriously impressed WWE officials. Morgan is said not to have a particularly prominent position on the Mania card, but there is plentiful talk of more championships in her future. The creative team consider her one of the most reliable and always championship ready, which is a very positive place to be in the WWE rotation. At any point, she's being considered as someone who can dethrone a champion. And a Tiffany Stratton versus Liv Morgan feud, I feel, could be very beneficial as a way to ensure that Tiffany Stratton is able to solidify the face turn without individuals backing her. Also, Fightful have reported that during the Owens versus Zayn match, the barbed wire used on a chair was not gimmicked or protected. I can confirm this was at the request of Kevin Owens, who is apparently eager to end the match with blood on his face, but still standing tall. The blood didn't quite work. You can see a point where he was trying to blade, not for lack of trying. But seriously, what on earth are WWE wrestlers made of? You saw what happened to Liv Morgan. You saw what Kevin Owens was intentionally putting himself through. These people are insane. The final piece of news before we get to the recap as regards The Rock and Cena is on Rey Fenix. Rey Fenix is on his way to the WWE with a slim chance he'll be in a tag match alongside Penta by WrestleMania. Sadly, it may well be too late in the day to make that happen, but they could always add Carlito to the planned other side of the match to even the sides out. The injury to JD McDonough has meant that there are limited options available, but when it comes to Rey Fenix, they're currently just looking at options that involve tag team, not championship, tag team competition. Tag team competition. Yes, Spider-Boss, WWE is indeed pro-Trump. Rickan says, what's keeping AJ from signing a new deal? Does it have to do with TNA? Yes, it does. Bam says, do you think they will give Fear My Name theme for Cena next appearance? I don't know what you're referring to. Chris says, even if Charlotte wins, Liv can take it off her. Chris says, Kevin Owens is a little definition of for the love of the game. Calvin says, if Waller goes one-on-one with Jay tonight, I can see Theory yeeting behind Waller during his entrance. I'm real sorry, Calvin, but I just don't think they care about them at this point. Seeing a few people say they've joined the Discord. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you doing so. Hopefully, it's a place that you enjoy and a place that you can feel at home. The more lively it gets, naturally, the more news will be posted in there. We do have some non-wrestling related sections, and hopefully you can find a bit of a home there too. But also check out the promotion area if you're interested in that. There's a lot of people who like wrestling, and if you're involved in wrestling, that can be a place that you go. Chris says, I've seen plenty of speculation about AJ Styles leaving WWE and joining AEW. Cal says, if Liv pinning Alexa twice and the fact they turned on their family, aka Priest and Rhea, I feel like Judgment Day and the Wyatts will cross paths very soon. People have been saying that for months and it hasn't happened yet. Sean says, during the Elimination Chamber post-show, Triple H praised Alexa Bliss by saying he's glad she's back and she adds so much to the women's division, and he is not wrong. Not wrong at all. Crush says Alexa deserved that praise. It's like she never missed a beat. It's time for the recap. It is time for the recap. So we're going to go again. We're going to start with everything that I went through at the beginning of the show as regards The Rock and as regards John Cena. So if you were here at the beginning, please do stick around. If any of this is news to you, please do react in the chat. Be aware that it took me almost 10 minutes to say all of this at the beginning. So stick around. Make sure you've hit like, because we have 143 people on the YouTube, which is a great number. And here we go for the duration. I'm a funny guy, Rabbit. The Rock did not just appear one day and rewrite WrestleMania. Instead, he's playing out the plan of an in-depth surrogate challenger to keep the fires of the final boss versus the final story alive, and he's successfully tricking wrestling media left, right and centre in order to make it happen. While the WWE were putting together John Cena's final tour, Cena announced his impending retirement live during a PLE. The Rock, up until this point, was not aware of Cena's plan, and at this time he was still weighing up the chance that he could appear in the initial planned main event of Mania 41, The Rock versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Cena's announcement was said to be the beginning of a very exciting period backstage, with both The Rock and Triple H communicating often about what they could do with WrestleMania. The Rock and Cena themselves had a sit-down discussion, facilitated by Triple H, near the very end of 2024, and this is when the heel turn was first discussed. This is also when we saw big changes happening for the WrestleMania card. Triple H shifted things around to accommodate Cena and The Rock, but also in recognition that their plans for Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa weren't really working as intended. This was also true of a planned Finn Balor versus Damian Priest match, which has since pivoted to Priest versus McIntyre instead. At the time of The Rock's Bad Blood appearance, he had ideas, but he did not have plans. Things were being discussed, but not finalised. Rumours of The Rock skipping WrestleMania apparently aren't true, with The Rock planning to be there but for insurance reasons not taking too big a risk in ring. It was a while after the things came together. Cena was said to be very receptive to the heel turn. He was offered the match against Cody Rhodes anyway, but this certainly inspires a big fight feel and a half. This is a team endeavour though, with The Rock expected to be in Cena's corner. The WWE is still trying to convince Cena to lengthen his retirement tour until next year's WrestleMania, where once again, the WWE will likely revisit the idea of The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. From a storyline perspective, there are indeed rumours of a third person. There is a suggestion out there that the WWE were teasing Seth Rollins as part of this trio. This would also involve lining The Rock directly up against CM Punk, and suggests that we may one day see a combination of Roman Reigns, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes against The Rock, John Cena and Seth Rollins, and that is a sexy lineup. Curiously, I did ask why The Rock, as a member of the board, wasn't aware that John Cena was retiring until Cena's official announcement. I was told, quite simply, he was busy, he has a life. In wrestling terms, I was told to sit down and shut up. The rumours that The Rock would change the card last minute? Not true. His promo during SmackDown was rambling and all over the place, but that's because it hadn't been planned or rehearsed. But The Rock at least knew where he was going with it, even if Cody Rhodes didn't necessarily. I reported that The Rock wanted the main event at the Chamber, and this is what happened. I saw other media members delete tweets or suddenly go quiet when they were proven wrong. And on that note, McIntyre winning was never on the cards for a second. Now The Rock worked this swerve beautifully. I have to tip my hat to the man. He did serious damage to several wrestling news outlets and made sure nobody knew that John Cena would turn heel. You have people, even in here in the chat right now, saying they knew for a fact. Guessing is not knowing, even if you guess correctly. The Rock and John Cena didn't just have Cody Rhodes, they had us all. So I would have cut this up into a short, but to be blunt, this was one of the most in-depth reports I've ever been able to make. Let me know what you think in the chat, and remember, this is what spoiler warning gives you. So that's what's going on with The Rock and John Cena. Chris says Roxanne looked excellent as always. I'd take the US title off of Chelsea, put it on her, and let Bayley Roxanne have a good match at Mania for the title. Cal says I've seen a lot of people speculating either Howdy or Alexa wearing a mask similar to The Fiend. I can't see it, however it would be cool AF. Marcel's now on Discord as well, thank you Marcel. Cal thinks Jay is the other guy, which is certainly an idea worth considering. Lark says, yes, I said that, that's why Seth stomped Punk, he's the third man, he's the third man. Very eager, Lark. Chris says Rollins has no reason to hate The Rock as much as he hates CM Punk and Roman. He'd also hate Cody for being aligned with them. I can see Cody, Roman and Punk being the guys Cody has as allies. Derek says, honestly, I'll put Drew McIntyre in that spot. That is Seth Rollins. McIntyre can be grown as the next big thing to take time to invest in him. Cal says, thanks for the in-depth report, Tom. You're crushing it, man. You're the GOAT. Appreciate you for that. And Kelly says, good night, guys. See you all at the Waffle Factory. Now, I'm aware that that means wrestling days. So what I'm going to do, as we're heading into the end, is I'm just going to sort out the redirect. What do we got? Who have we got who's live? We have Wrestling Days. So we're going to redirect there when the show ends. Stick around and you can go over there to have a watch party and a news show. But at this point, we've been over everything we can be. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us here. We've had 86 likes, which is fantastic. 7,500 over on the TikTok side. Stick around while we hit the raid. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And we'll see you all very soon.